With Ezekiel Elliott not expected to play this week, is Tony Pollard an RB1 in fantasy football? That and so much more on tonight's episode of the Mailbag Show. Victoria, that's a great question to start off with, though, and something that a lot of people are probably wanting to know the answer to. Is Tony Pollard a running back one?
Dave, you know what? Running back has been an absolute cesspool this fantasy season. I don't know if you've been looking, but yeah, it's gross out there. We got guys like CEH, Jamal Williams, Miles Sanders, the top 13 through these first 7 weeks. So yeah, absolutely. Tony Pollard is an RB1 this week if Zeke can't go. It was reported that Zeke will probably not play this week. Knee sprain doesn't sound like it's too great, but yeah, Tony Pollard. Chicago giving up the 6th most fantasy points per game to running backs. It's a really good matchup if Pollard. If the Cowboys are without Zeke, it's a great matchup for Pollard. You know, we saw Ramondre Stevenson running all over this past week. You know, albeit the game was a little out of control. Go Bears, let's go! It's always great to see the Patriots lose, no matter if they're not really a competition to my Bills or not. But yeah, Pollard was hovering around about 40% of snaps until last week. He shot up to 65%. He's not getting targeted that much. I think only 5 targets in his last 2 games. Not a ton there, but it's something to lean on. And I kind of expect, sorry, Dave, I expect Dallas's defense to stifle Chicago. And then, you know, I expect them to kind of lean on their run game the rest of the game. So yes, let's play Tony Pollard this week. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I expected the New England Patriots defense to stifle Chicago too, but they are humming right now. So you gotta put a little bit of respect on the Bears. But yeah, and the other thing, you know, you said that he's got this knee injury, and I don't know if you've seen, but there's so many conflicting reports. I've seen everything from a strain to an MCL tear to a thigh contusion. I mean, the reports are all over the place. It's kind of weird that we don't have a clear picture of what's going on, but it was an MCL that bothered him last year. And it was right around this time, you know, about a third of the way through the season, he picked up a knee injury and it kind of hobbled him all year. So I think giving him the week off, having the bye next week, hopefully after 2 weeks of resting up, Zeke will be back to form. But I'm with you. I mean, why isn't Tony Pollard an RB1 this week? Troy, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm going to echo what you guys said. I think the thing about Tony Pollard that most people have been skeptical about is that we just haven't seen the volume. We've seen the efficiency, right? We've seen the big runs, but we've been waiting for an opportunity where Tony Pollard is the guy in the backfield. And now this is his opportunity. So I feel like combined the volume combined with his efficiency and his playmaking ability, just again, to pretty much take it to the house or, you know, getting chunk yards or almost every time he touches the ball. I think that, yeah, he absolutely has the upside and he has the matchup to be an RB1. I think, yeah, I think back end RB1 is probably more fair. I know it's not as sexy, but I think maybe like RB 11, 12. But yeah, I think Tony Pollard being an RB1 is absolutely in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, this blew my mind when I was looking at this earlier today, but Tony Pollard has never seen more than 14 carries in a single game. And we know that Zeke just stays healthy. Like, that's the thing with Zeke. Like, he never, ever misses time, and he finally is. So this is one of the few instances where we're actually going to see Tony Pollard get the lion's share of the carries, and we know that he's juiced up. I mean, this guy looks awesome anytime he has the ball in his hand. So I think we are all in agreement here. Are we saying he is the RB1? No, of course not. When we say RB1, what we mean is he somebody that you're starting as a top 12 running back? And I think we're all in agreement here that he falls somewhere into the probably 10 to 12 range. But I've seen Dwayne McFarland, you know, over at MB Fantasy Life, formerly at PFF. I don't know if you saw it today. He said that he's got Pollard as a top 5 running back for the week.
That was talk about spicy take. Look, I like it. I like the confidence, but oof, why do I feel like when I see something like that, I'm like, man, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been seeing this all year, though. I mean, look at it. Like when Jamal Williams, or I'm sorry, when DeAndre Swift was out and Jamal Williams was stepping up, I was a little skeptical that Jamal Williams might not be able to do it, and he smashed in that opportunity. You know, Benjamin didn't do so great the first week without James Conner, but week 2 he put up over 20 points. We've seen it with there was another one that was just on my mind, but it seems like all season, like anytime somebody has an opportunity to step up, Ramondre Stevenson was the other one when Damian Harris missed and Ramondre Stevenson smashed. And
Gus
it seems
Edwards
like that has
last
been
week.
Gus Edwards, exactly. And the problem is every single team now leans on a committee. So you can almost make the argument that for a lot of these situations, you'd almost rather have the backup without the RB1 in front of him than the RB1 himself, because then he's just getting all the carries, doesn't have to worry about splitting with anybody. I mean, I don't think that Tony Pollard's going to be splitting carries, he should go out there and see 80 to 90% of the touches. And I think the one thing that could work against him is Chicago has done a good job of running the ball and chewing up the clock. They could really slow down the pace of play in this game. But yeah, Tony Pollard, top 10 option for me, not really overthinking it this week. Well, anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Football Guys Mailbag Show. We just keep cutting down the pre-submitted questions every single week because we are getting so many questions in the chat, and we really value the live audience here, and we want to make sure that we can help you out as much as possible. So we only have 3 more questions. After we answer those 3 pre-submitted questions, we will go to the chat, so keep dropping those questions in there. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, youtube.com/footballguys. Give us a thumbs up so you can help some other people find this video. Victoria, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
At FFB_Victoria on Twitter and Instagram. Come find me, y'all. Starts it. DMs. It's week 7 or it's week 8. Excuse me. I can't wait.
You know what? We get it.
Yeah,
I don't know nothing. No more.
It's wild how quickly it's going by. I mean, we got a 17-week season if we're looking at it from a fantasy lens, since most of us take week 18 off. So, I mean, we're almost at the halfway point after this week. It is kind of crazy to think about. We are already halfway through the fantasy regular season. Troy, let everyone know where they can find you on social media as well.
Of course, y'all could find me at T King Mode pretty much on all social media platforms, but Twitter's my home base. I appreciate y'all.
You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. That's Kluge. But most importantly, find Football Guys at Football Guys. We're sharing all of our shows there. We're sharing all of our articles, video, written content, some fun graphics and whatnot. So at Football Guys on Twitter. But let's go ahead and jump right in. We got a question from our Discord here saying, I was offered Ekeler for Aaron Jones and A.J. Brown. Would you do it? Big boy trade right here. Troy, start us off. Ekeler for Aaron Jones and A.J. Brown. Are you taking that?
I think I would. I think Ekeler just provides so much upside. So yeah, I would trade. Wait, you got offered Ekeler, so he's getting Ekeler, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I would do that trade. I would do that trade.
All right, Victoria, what are your thoughts on this one?
Ooh, well, you know, Austin Eckler's my boy. If you're new here, Austin Ekeler is stepdaddy and Josh Allen is daddy. But, you know, that's how much I love Austin Ekeler. My goodness, he started out the year a little bit slow. We were worried about that usage. We said, oh, yeah, remember when he said in the offseason that he was going to get the backup running backs to spell him and he wasn't getting usage at the goal line. And now every week it seems he has exploded for like 30-plus points. That's what it feels like. He's the number 1 PPR running back overall right now. He has 30 plus more PPR points than the running back 2, which is Saquon. That is blowing my mind. And now you've got Keenan Allen banged up. You have Mike Williams out for 4 weeks. They're saying could be longer. He's going to be, as if he wasn't already Mr. Necessary, this man might get 15 targets per game in the next month. So, I would absolutely take this trade. I think that there was more context to this question. This guy had a pretty solid wide receiver core and only had Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, CEH, and Damian Harris as his running back. So you're immediately upgrading there. You got Nick Chubb. He's the top 5 running back right now. And Austin Ekeler and, you know, CEH, he's kind of rendered useless almost at this point. Damian Harris is managing his injury for now, only a couple points last week. I would absolutely do this.
Yeah, you know, I'm not normally a fan of giving away a guy like this, Austin Ekeler, you know, for the person that's giving away Austin Ekeler. I'm not normally a fan of splitting, you know, giving up 1 really good asset for 2 subpar assets. But this is one that I think is pretty even for both sides, given the team needs. Like you said, there was some context missing because we have a text limit here. But yeah, I mean, realistically, I'm looking at Austin Ekeler and A.J. Brown as pretty equal. You know, I'd give the slight edge to Austin Ekeler ahead of A.J. Brown. You know, I'd hope that you might be able to counter with something like Damian Harris and A.J. Brown. But if this is all that they're going to do to get the deal done, you know, sometimes we get so wrapped up when we're playing in analyst leagues that everything is about value. You can't bleed value at any time. But when you're playing in redraft, it's a short season and you have to win as many weeks as you can to get into the playoffs. So I'm okay bleeding a little bit of value if it is helping your team out. And this is a situation where if you're able to upgrade a guy like, you know, CEH to Austin Ekeler, and you're still able to take a guy from your bench that's going to put up wide receiver 2 numbers and plug him in for A.J. Brown, I see that as a win. So team situations and context make so much more of a difference in redraft leagues than they do in dynasty leagues. I think people forget that. They just want to plug it into a trade calculator and say, well, I'm not getting the value here. And then they're okay, rolling out a team with no wide receiver too, because they would rather stash extra running backs on their bench. You got to play to the team needs here. Next question comes in from Discord as well, and this is from Average Joe. Average Joe is asking us, I have Irv Smith, Irv Smith, Harrison Bryant, and Greg Dulcich are available. Who would you pick up? I'm going to drop Trevor Lawrence for one. Heck, I might even drop Kyle Pitts. Before we get into this question, I just got to say, I was setting my lineups last night, and I actually benched Kyle Pitts for Evan Ingram. Times are dark out here, guys.
I actually did the same exact thing. I did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
That hurts to hear you guys.
Victoria, start us off here. Irv Smith, Harrison Bryant, Greg Dulcich. I think I know who we're going to go with. I mean, he's kind of become like the mascot of this show since the draft. Go ahead and talk to us, Victoria.
Okay, so the only thing I'll say before I go with our boy Greg here, I will talk about Irv Smith a little bit, just because we're gonna spice it up. We're all gonna say the same answer. So Irv has a nice matchup, I believe, against the Cardinals, right? So we just saw them get burned last week by Jaquan Johnson on the Saints. Y'all, can you confirm that they're playing the Cardinals, right? I have it in my notes here, but just making sure. Okay.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so you're hoping for a touchdown with Irv. He's got a lower floor, right? You're hoping for that touchdown. Arizona's giving up the second most points to tight ends. I do like him this week. Last 3 weeks, target share 4, 5, and 4. He's hovering around 60 to 65% of snaps. Not awful. I think that Kirk and their passing game could get that done. Now, Kirk has a lot of options. It's probably going to be a huge Justin Jefferson game. Adam Thielen's going to mix in. But Irv isn't a bad option. We got to talk Greg Dulcich, our honey baby sweetie of the show. Greg with the long hair.
I ain't saying all that. But yeah.
Well, no, you're not going to say it. I got to say, I'll say it for you guys. But yeah, this is our guy. He's had 71% of snaps, 59% of snaps in his last 2 healthy weeks. He immediately commanded targets. I mean, 9 targets last week. I understand, safety blanket for our beautiful backup quarterback, Russell Wilson. So Russ, though, it was just reported a few hours ago that he said he's ready to go. Can we talk about the reports first of all?
Please don't.
Yes, no, we're going to talk about how hilarious this report was. Outside of this question, Russell Wilson, what did you do on the 8-hour flight to London? Oh, the first 2 hours I watched film. The next 4 hours I was up, doing high knees in the aisles. Imagine being on the flight with Russell Wilson as his teammate. You're just trying to sleep. You took a nice little Xanax. You took a Xanax. You're trying to take a nap. You got a blanket. No, Russ is doing high knees in the middle of your rows. That was hilarious. But back to the question. Yeah, I got to go with Greg here. I do like Irv as that second option just because of the matchup is fantastic. But Greg commanded targets immediately when he came back from injury. So I do like him there.
Back to that report on Russ. Did you see that KJ Hamler quote tweeted that and said no BS? Like the story about him high stepping or high kneeing through the plane. I mean, you could just feel the tension in that team. This is the same KJ Hamler who was missed wide open on a game-winning slant a few weeks ago, spiked his helmet on the ground, and yeah, there's a lot of tension on that Denver team. You can just feel it even through Twitter. Troy, are you going with Irv Smith or Harrison Bryant over Greg Dulcich?
No, I'm going Dulcich. I mean, Victoria summed it up perfectly. When you see the 9 targets, I feel like Irv Smith, very touchdown dependent. Harrison Bryant, we're assuming that he takes Njoku's role, but we don't know if he's going to be involved that way. So that's why I'm a little bit skeptical about him. He's my least favorite out of the options. So yeah, Greg Dulcich, I like those 9 targets. And whether it's Russ, whether it's, Brett, I think Greg is probably the safest one.
Yeah, and Harrison Bryant's going to take that David Njoku role, but he isn't anywhere near the level of player that David Njoku is. He's smaller, he's not as fast, he's not as strong. He'll command some targets, and I think, he's got a reasonably safe floor just because somebody's going to have to catch passes there. But I think that Dulcich has the highest floor and the highest ceiling out of everybody in this bunch, so I'm with you. Now, last question that we are taking pre-submitted, and then we are going right into the chat. So keep those questions flowing. We see them coming in. This question comes from Joe Hammy on Twitter saying, rest of season, would you prefer Geno Smith or Tua Tagovailoa as my backup? I already have Kyler Murray. Troy, start us off here.
It-
Tua or Geno?
It's not a homerism. It's Tua, man. The offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that's really my argument, right? I know that Geno has been great this season. DK's banged up. I don't know what's gonna happen with. I don't know how soon he's gonna be, but that's the main difference, right? So it's like, so now instead of DK and Tyler Lockett, you got Tyler Lockett and Marquise Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin did his thing last week, but you just
Eskridge?
no, like you just can't compare. And then just the offense, the Dolphins offense now is just too explosive. Yeah, like the fact that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are top 10 in yards, it just I'm sorry, you gotta go Tua.
Yeah, I'm going Tua as well. But if there was for some reason a trade right now where Geno and Tua were traded 1-for-1 with each other, then I'd go with Geno. And it's just the ecosystem there in Miami,
Yeah.
like you said, when you're throwing passes to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki and Raheem Mostert, makes your job kind of easy as a quarterback. So I'm going to go with Tua as well. Vic, we got a stamp of approval on this one, or are you going to throw a curveball and take Geno?
I think so. I think it's so close, and the deciding factor, I was shaking my head when Troy was answering. The deciding factor is that loss of DK Metcalf. That's a huge loss. He's a monster when he's on the field and healthy, but we know how Pete Carroll, coach of the Seahawks, is when he talks about injuries. He's so optimistic, at least to the press. And so he's like, DK, we'll see how it goes. We have zero information. We're expecting this guy to be out for a couple of weeks at a minimum.
He said Chris Carson's recovery was coming along great,
Exactly.
like 3 weeks before Chris Carson retired. So you can't take anything that Pete Carroll says at face value.
Exactly. And
what is he watching?
I think he just likes to keep it close to the vest and/or just be completely too optimistic. It's it's a nice quality, but not for when you're trying to play fantasy well.
I mean, Bill Belichick is kind of the same way. There are some coaches that you can trust, and that they're just going to be honest. And then you've got, I think it's more of an old school thing. Like, we don't want to give our opponents any sort of edge. So you got the Pete Carrolls and the Bill Belichicks that they just aren't going to say a word, and they're going to be as quiet as they can about injuries. And it makes sense from a football standpoint, but like you said, it does make it pretty tough for us fantasy players.
It stinks for fantasy. I do want to give Geno multiple pats on the back. QB7 through 7 weeks. He's first overall in completion percentage, third in yards thrown, tied for number 1 in passing touchdowns. I mean, it's just insane what he is doing there. So I do want to give him his credit. But yeah, with the loss of Metcalf, I got to go Tua here.
And I got to say, I thought that it was a little bit of an apparition. I wasn't really buying into Geno Smith until that week 5 game against the Saints. I mean, he was just dealing. That was when he dropped those 2 deep passes to Tyler Lockett, the 2 big touchdown passes. And that's when I said, like, wow, Geno is just here to play. Absolutely love seeing it. Let's go ahead and get to the chat questions, though. And the first one we got here comes from our own Football Guys friend, Alfredo Brown, over the Pretend GM. I was lucky enough to guest as the co-host on the Pretend GM this Monday afternoon. So you can find that right here on our Football Guys YouTube page. Be sure to check it out. We talk about a bunch of fun trade targets. We actually recommended going out and trading for Travis Etienne right before the James Robinson trade broke. So good luck trying to get Travis Etienne now. That's all I'll say, because his value is through the roof. But Alfredo was asking us, I'm 2-5. I lost Javonte Williams, and my team has so many injuries. I feel like I need to make a drastic move. In a 10-team PPR league, should I trade Cooper Kupp for Ken Walker and Chris Godwin?
I would rather just have Cooper Kupp.
I don't
I'm going
hate
Walker
this.
and Godwin here. Yeah.
I don't hate this. I think Tampa Bay's got to wake up a little bit, but that doesn't mean Godwin's not getting targeted. And I think I saw a tweet the other day saying he has been targeted, or at least a crazy amount of receptions, without getting into the end zone. So regression is coming.
Week 10 of last season was the last time that Chris Godwin had a touchdown.
Yeah, they got to be coming there. So I don't hate this. Alfredo, I don't know your situation with the rest of your running backs, but if you lost Javonte, it can't be that great. And Ken Walker is going to explode the rest of the season. I don't hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a certified Chris Godwin stan, so I feel like I might be a little bit biased here, but I've still got Chris Godwin pegged as a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. I think that, we've seen some bad luck with him, unable to get in the end zone. We've seen some injuries that have kind of kept him at bay, but watching him play, he's still the same player he was pre-injury. Like, there's nothing lingering from the injury. He looks like his old self. the targets are there. In the 3 games that he hasn't been limited with an injury, he's seen 10, 12, and 13 targets. And in the other games, he was limited or pulled out early because of an injury. So, I mean, he's just a target hog. He fits so well with Tom Brady, getting those short underneath passes. Obviously it's a downgrade from Cooper Kupp. Any wide receiver is a downgrade from Cooper Kupp. Get a guy like Ken Walker, who you could make a very realistic argument is a top 5 running back for the rest of the season, along with Chris Godwin, who I've got as a back end wide receiver 1. I think these are the type of teams that you got to make if your back's up against the wall.
But he clarified. He said he has Miles Sanders and Travis Etienne still. So I'm like, you don't have to make this trade.
Okay.
So he clarified. So that's why I'm like, man,
you got to flex. I mean, if you can start Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, and Ken Walker, if you're starting them at 2 running back positions and a flex, and then you got Chris Godwin and whoever else is your wide receiver. I mean, it's a fragile build with the way that running backs get hurt, but
or just keep Cooper Kupp, or just keep Cooper Kupp and have them as your running backs, and you'll be okay.
I think I'd like to know who his other wide receivers are and who he's playing at a flex, because the way I see it, if you're 2 and 5, you're probably starting, a Donovan Peoples-Jones or somebody like that you're not feeling too confident in. So my guess is that he probably could use the extra spot in his starting lineup. Again, so much of trade talk this time of year has to come with team context, but I think that the Ken Walker and Chris Godwin side is more valuable than the Cooper Kupp side.
I mean, I get the argument both ways, but I'm team Cooper Kupp on this one.
I will say, I think this trade is fair. I think it's a fair trade too. But yeah, right, Dave.
And then, I think when you're 2 to 5, that's the time. I mean, where you just got to take some home run swings and switch some things up. I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm winning in all my leagues, but sucks up, right?
I'm 2 and 5 in my home league too. So
hold on.
He said he has said CeeDee Lamb, Juju. Why are you even asking this question? I told you keep Cooper Kupp, bro.
Yeah, especially now with Juju warming up. Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Keep Cooper Kupp there. Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and then Juju or Bateman in the flex. Yeah, I think you might want to stick with that one as is. All right, next question comes from Ronald Gill asking, "What's up, everybody? Trade DeAndre Swift for Jalen Hurts. I have Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
Hurts owner also has Lamar.
Yeah,
Smash.
I'm doing it. Smash.
What?
I'm doing it. Because you don't. Here's the thing. One, he might be healthy this week, okay, but he has not been useful. I want to know who his quarterback is right now. We've talked about, we've said this, we've talked on this show about how tight ends and quarterbacks, if you can get an elite quarterback, if you're starting someone like Russell Wilson, I'm doing this trade. I think that's also a key factor. Right? Who are you starting? If you're starting even if you're starting like a Matthew Stafford, I would do this trade because I want the elite quarterback, the Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. Those are game changers in your spot. I'll do this trade. Even for Swift, you'll be fine. You have Derrick Henry and Saquon and Dameon Pierce. You don't need Swift in this build. You can't start all of them anyway, most likely. So I'll do this trade.
Derrick Henry hasn't had under 16 fantasy points in the last month.
But we know running backs get hurt. I mean, it's after week 7 right now.
Exactly. So get rid of DeAndre Swift.
So what I'm saying is hold on to all these guys, because what happens if Derrick Henry goes down, Saquon goes down, Dameon Pierce goes down, then all of a sudden you don't have this, luxury
to give up.
If all those running backs at this point.
Ronald,
give up.
Ronald, no. Smash. This is Jalen Hurts' schedule. Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans.
We've seen this year more than ever about you want one of those top quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You want one of those times like Swift. What has he done for me lately? Nothing. Absolutely nothing because he's hurt. And maybe he's coming back this week. Availability is the best ability. And Jalen Hurts has been available and scoring me fantasy points. And he's going to continue to score me fantasy points.
I'll die on this hill then. I guess I'm all alone here. Ronald, I'd say go pick up Daniel Jones, go pick up Justin Fields, go pick up somebody on the waiver wire and keep DeAndre Swift. He's top 5 running back.
Wait, listen. He clarified. He said he's starting Dak Prescott.
Boo. No, not good enough.
I'm skeptical about Dak. I think Dak will be fine, but he's not going to be Jalen Hurts though.
You're giving away an 18 to 20 point a week running back for an extra 4 to 5 points a week at quarterback. I can't get behind it.
You think Hurts is only 4 to 5 points better than
I feel like
Dak? Ugh. Ugh.
I feel like, okay, here's the thing, right? I think if you do the trade, it's nice to have Jalen Hurts and he's going to help you. Even if you just continue to start Dak and keep Hurts, I don't know what your lineup is, but you're going to be fine either way. If you trade away Swift and have Jalen Hurts, you have Jalen Hurts and you're probably going to win a lot of games. If you keep Swift, you're probably going to win a lot of games regardless. So it just depends on how you feel about it. But I definitely have Jalen Hurts way higher than I have Dak, if that helps. So,
Well, Ronald, I wish we can, give
no,
you
it's
some
2
sort
for
of sound
1.
advice here, but
No,
it
it's two.
is
It's
2 to
2
1.
against 1.
It is 2 against 1. So I guess I'll see this one, but DM me if you want to talk about it, Ronald. I got you.
Dave, did you see Dak last week? Like, did you look at his points? I
Just
Game
mean,
Justin
1,
Fields
he
and
wasn't
Daniel
good either.
Jones. That's what I'm saying. Like
ugh.
I'd rather stream a quarterback and keep Swift than give Swift up for Jalen Hurts. I don't know.
Hurts so good.
It's
No,
a tough one. I'll admit I thought about it, but man, just giving that much up for a quarterback is I
giving
think it's
what up?
bad
He hasn't done
practice.
anything for me all year, basically. We're giving what up for 2 games? He hasn't. I'm not giving a whole lot up if he hasn't helped me. If he hasn't, thanks, Ronald. You have us fighting.
You gave us a good
fighting.
one, Ronald. You got us tilting here. All right, next question comes from Randy Miller. And Randy is saying trade Mixon and Jacoby trade Mixon for Jacoby Myers and Amon-Ra. I have ETN and Walker at running back. Whoo, getting ETN and Walker at running back. That's got to be fun. But guys, would you do this? Give away Joe
I feel
Mixon.
like we're not going to agree on a lot, but
Yeah,
Vic, you go
that's where I
first
feel.
because I know what I'm going to do. But I'll let Vic go first.
Jacoby Myers, first of all, I need to say is the most disrespected wide receiver in fantasy right now through these first 7 weeks. He's just crushing it. And Amon-Ra when he's on the field, that was just a freak thing that happened last week. It wasn't even a concussion, but with the new rules came directly off the field. I'm not worried about him. I do like this trade.
I would do it. Yeah, I agree. I'm doing this trade.
I would do it as well. I mean, Jacoby Myers, you already said it, just so disrespected. And he's such a good wide receiver, and he just started playing wide receiver 3 years ago. This guy was a quarterback, came into the league. He's still learning a new position and absolutely crushing it. So I'm with you there. Next question comes from DMK1216. Another team in my league wants to trade me Nuke for T. Higgins. Is that a worthwhile swap?
There's no point in doing that.
Sorry about that, guys. My mail just got dropped off. My dogs are going
No,
nuts.
no worries. I don't think there's any point in doing that. I'd rather just have T. Would trade me Nuke? Yeah, I feel like that's not a big benefit to you. I would rather keep T. Higgins. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would much rather have T. Higgins over DeAndre Hopkins. Victoria, what are your thoughts on this one?
This is tough because there's, he was targeted so much, and not just targeted last game in its entirety, but he was playing snaps from the slot a ton more than he has ever done for them, especially last year. So that was really interesting because then I'm like, it's kind of rendering maybe Rondale Moore snaps a little more useless.
Rest in peace, Rondale. If D-Hop keeps going in the slot, drop Rondale because there's no way he's absolutely useless if he's not in the slot role.
It is pretty even though, like you guys said. Goodness, but Arizona, I don't know. Oh man, I do like Hopkins here. I will say.
Okay, so Vic's going Hopkins, Dave and I are going to Higgins.
See, man, we are just giving nothing worthwhile.
Vic is wrong about this one, but it's okay.
Okay.
Honestly, it is close for me. And I mean, the big thing, we saw it last week with DeAndre Hopkins, but I'm looking more so at last year, and I'd rather look at the sample size of almost a full year where he wasn't doing that great than the one game where he did. So I'm going to lean with T. Higgins, but I'd be lying if I said that his injuries weren't starting to concern me a little bit. I mean, they have been popping up seemingly every single week, and there's nothing worse than putting a guy in your lineup who gets one catch and then doesn't touch the ball for the rest of the game.
You're perfectly fine with Swift, though.
I am. Running backs are a little different. They get hurt regardless.
I'm sorry, I had to take that.
Wait, we got to do a water bet or something. Nuke versus Higgins rest of the season. I want to see who scores more points.
Rest of the season. Oof, we could do a water bet. I mean,
okay. No, I'm just gonna keep it up here.
All right. Next question comes from Oaktown's Finest. Should I go with DeAndre Hopkins versus the Vikings or Raheem Mostert versus the Lions? This is a great question.
Oh,
Great question.
Standard.
No PPR. I think
no
standard makes it a little bit of an easier question.
No, I think it's a great question because it's standard. I feel like if it wasn't standard, it'd be easy.
I just had somebody ask me a similar question on Twitter, actually, and they said Darrell Henderson, Devonta Smith. I said Devonta Smith without even thinking twice, and then they said it was standard, and I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot that people play standard leagues. Yeah, in that place, I'm going with Darrell Henderson.
Raheem Mostert. I'm going Raheem. But the
Lions,
the Lions are I don't know. Like, I feel like it's been like 10 years and they still they're bad against the run. Like, they've always been bad against the run.
Like, this was the team that, like, this was the year that everything was supposed to fall into place for the Lions, and they're still 1-5.
Hey, wait,
like, the team can't catch a break.
Give them credit. They're not the worst against the run. They're just 5th worst. So.
Oh, all right. Well,
bravo,
Detroit.
It's embarrassed. Like, they can't stop anyone. They can't stop us.
I'm going Raheem Mostert here. Just
Raheem.
the stealing. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if Mostert ends up having 102 touchdowns. Just one of those huge games against Detroit. I mean, Chase Edmonds, he's just not even getting snaps anymore. I mean, this is, I thought that Raheem
We don't
Mostert
have to talk about him.
I thought he might take over as like the dominant guy, but I thought there'd still be some sort of split. Raheem Mostert sharing touches with Gaskin and Edmund, but no, it has just been Raheem Mostert on there. He's doing kickoffs, punt returns, pass catching back, early down work, goal line work. Like, this dude does not come off the field. Next question, though. This one comes from Ronnie Daniel saying, what's good, peeps? Looking to pick these guys up off the waiver. Of the 3, which 2 would you pick up? Eno Benjamin, Raheem Mostert, or Deonta Foreman?
I know this is easy for me.
Yeah, it's Raheem and Foreman.
Yeah, Raheem Foreman.
Do we even need to go into it since we're all in agreement? I think the next one.
Raheem
Eno, you know what? I was thinking about it. Eno did look good last week, and James Conner didn't. But I don't think that Eno is just going to, usurp Conner as the RB1 there. I mean, best case scenario for Eno is that he carves out, 20 to 40% of the touches there. Then he's got the contingent upside if James Conner gets hurt again. But Raheem and Foreman, they're getting the touches without having to worry about an injury ahead of them. So that's who I'm going with. Next question comes from Eli, and Eli is asking us, Sutton for Najee Harris straight up.
Oh, I can't stand either of them.
I'm going to go Sutton here because the usage has been there. But
I just can't picture trading for Najee right now.
I mean, he's been horrible, absolutely awful, and maybe because he's injured. But I think I'd rather keep Sutton. Ugh. Yeah, give me Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, Najee's giving you sometimes double digits, just over double digits, but. That's bad. That's disgusting. I'm going to keep Sutton here.
I looked it up today. There are 57 players in the NFL that are averaging more than 4 yards per carry on the entire season. Najee Harris has only eclipsed 4 yards per carry in one game this year. He's been under 4 yards per carry in 6 of 7 games. I mean, that is awful for a guy that was drafted as early as he was. I mean, we heard a lot of comps this offseason that he's going to be the next Trent Richardson, and starting to kind of feel that way, isn't it?
I mean, he's hurt, he's banged up, but man, Najee, you gotta step it up. You gotta step it up, my guy.
Yeah, I've been every single week. I just go through all of my dynasty leagues and just throw out 2nd-round picks for Najee. Somebody's gonna bite one of these days. I know it's only a matter of time. Next question comes from Olaf asking us, I want Ekeler. Is AJ Brown and Dalvin Cook too much to pay for Austin Ekeler?
Ooh.
Man, we see a lot of people that are trying to move AJ Brown right now. I don't understand why.
I don't either. He's so great.
But here's the thing. So I feel like this one, I don't think I would do this one because
I wouldn't.
The previous, I feel like Dalvin Cook and Ekeler are closer than whatever the other one is.
Cook is a tier above Aaron Jones. The other one was Ekeler for AJ Brown and Aaron Jones.
I wouldn't be
a tier above AJ Brown.
Yeah, I agree there. I think it's too much. I think you're taking too much of a hit, giving them both up.
I'm keeping Dalvin Cook and AJ Brown here pretty easily. Yep. Next one, Swamphampton. I got offered to get Aaron Jones and Jahan Dotson for Alvin Kamara and Damian Harris. Kind of torn, but seems like decent upside with Jones's revamped role. So Aaron Jones and Jahan Dotson for Alvin Kamara and Damian Harris. I don't really know what I'm missing here, but I'm going with the Kamara and Harris side.
Yeah, I'm going Kamara Harris.
I got Kamara ahead of Jones, and I've got Damian Harris ahead of Dotson. So
Yeah.
I mean, with Dotson's healthy, I really like him. He has a lot of upside, but I'm going Kamara here.
yeah, I mean, the upside certainly is there, but it's also a really messy situation where you got, Curtis Samuel popping 1 week, and then Terry McLaurin popping the next week, and then who was Diami Brown having his big game. I mean, it's just so hard to predict that I don't know if I'd ever really feel comfortable putting Jahan Dotson in my lineup, knowing the way that the ball gets spread around. And now without Carson Wentz, I don't know if they're going to be rolling with Taylor Heineke for the rest of the season or what's going on, but Heineke clearly prefers McLaurin above the rest of the guys. So yeah, that's a tough one, but I'm going to go with the Alvin Kamara and Damian Harris side here. Next question comes in from Shaka saying, should I trade away Gabe Davis for David Montgomery?
No.
I'm sure you guys saw it on Monday night, but Khalil Herbert is getting a bigger and bigger role just about every single week. He's looking really good.
Do not do that.
He looks good. That's our boy. That's another one of our boys on this show. Yeah. If you're new here, I would.
We're clear Herbert fans.
It came out today too that they were planning on continuing to utilize that split between the two guys, and that's fantastic news because they're number one in rushing right now. So if you have one of those guys, that's great. But I'm not trading Gabe away.
The second a coach comes out and publicly says we're going to go with a hot hand approach, just try to trade away that RB1 and get whatever you can, because that spells bad news going forward. That's exactly what Eberflus said prior to last week. He said we're going to start going with the hot hand approach out of the backfield, and we saw who the hot hand was on Monday night, and it wasn't David Montgomery. So, Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is one of those guys where if you've got two good receivers, I love Gabe Davis as a wide receiver 3, but if you're counting on him to be your wide receiver 1 every single week or your wide receiver 2, that's where things can get a little bit sketchy with those boomer bust tendencies. But if you've already got two guys that you're pretty confident in as wide receiver 2, as a wide receiver 1 and 2, and you can add Gabe Davis as that boomer bust flex wide receiver 3, whatever it may be, I like it. I'm going Gabe Davis over Monty here. Next question comes from Shaka again. Trade away Ken Walker and Gabe Davis for Justin Jefferson. That's a good one.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for Justin Jefferson, I would.
I'm taking Justin Jefferson here as well.
Anytime you get a stud like that, holy moly, yeah.
We talked about it last week with the boomer bust tendencies of Mike Evans. What was it? Either less than 20 yards or more than 110 in every single game.
That was a crazy stat.
Justin Jefferson has either been over 110 or less than 50 in every single game. So it's kind of weird because Justin Jefferson, we expected him to have this really high floor, but he's been shut down twice so far this season. So 2 of his 6 games have been busts, which is kind of unexpected. You didn't think that Justin Jefferson would have these games where he'd get shut down, but yeah, he's still my he's a top 2 wide receiver, whether it's him or Kupp atop your list. He's a top 2 receiver.
Chase is making an argument now. He's coming with
Diggs too, if we're being honest. Diggs is up there as well.
And Diggs, of those 4.
There's no surplus of high-end elite wide receivers this season. Next question comes from Jarrett Summers saying, trade Cook, Sutton, Henderson, and Thomas for Diggs, ETN, and Herbert. How do you feel about it? So guessing here, probably Dalvin Cook, Cortland Sutton, Darrell Henderson, and Michael Thomas?
Gotta be.
Yeah.
I definitely don't think it's Logan Thomas.
And I'm guessing Khalil Herbert or Justin
Herbert?
Yes,
he clarified it's Khalil.
All right.
So I love it, first of all. I want to say you are getting rid of Cook, Herbert. But you get ETN, and Khalil is a flex right now.
Can I just throw this out there? Is it crazy to say that ETN might be more valuable than Dalvin Cook for the rest of the season?
Ooh, that's hot. That's hot.
I don't want to go that far. I'm not.
Alexander Madison's been getting like 40% of the snaps. Like Dalvin Cook is not the Dalvin Cook he's been in years past.
Dalvin Cook only has one shoulder. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, that's been the theme for years, though. Madison's getting touches, though. I mean, Dalvin Cook, I think there's kind of this preconceived notion that he's still this like slam dunk RB1 that he's been for so many years, but that just hasn't really been the case this year. He's RB14 on the year. Alexander Madison is getting more and more touches, and he's getting touches at the goal line too, which really hurts Dalvin Cook's value.
Absolutely.
Now with James Robinson out of town, I mean, his only competition for touches is JaMychal Hasty, and ETN looks like one of the most explosive players in the NFL. So I'd say rest of the season, I could put ETN above Cook. So I'll just take those 2 out of the equation. You're basically giving away Sutton, Henderson, and Mike Thomas for Diggs and Khalil Herbert. I'd do that.
Diggs is elite too, so you got an elite piece there.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like that's just upgrades across the board. I would definitely take the ETN Diggs side. Next question comes from Only Jock in the Village. I've garnered Ken Walker, Travis Etienne, Delvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara, starting 1 running back and 2 flex. Who do I look to move from those 4? These are the questions that I really like, because it's not just, a trade. It's who should you looking to be moved, or who should you move?
Cook.
So much of this has to do with perceived value as well. You want to trade the guy that you think is going to fetch you the best return based off of the production that you're expecting. I think you might be right, Troy, that Cook is probably the guy to move
too. Yeah,
because he's
still got the name value, exactly like you said, perceived value. Absolutely.
He's realistically, like, from now until the end of the season, it wouldn't surprise me if Cook is 4th in scoring among these guys. It wouldn't surprise me if Ken Walker, Travis Etienne, and Alvin Kamara all outscore Cook between now and the end of the year, and you could probably get the biggest haul for Dalvin Cook on the trade market. So I'd be looking to move Cook as well.
Hey, Dave, we skipped one that's not a player question, but I'm just going to click it quick. I don't want to mess you up here. Oh, so yeah, go ahead, read it.
I have a team that I like quite a bit, but my opponents have gone crazy every single week, so I sit at 1-6, even though I'm 4th in total points out of 14. In this situation, how do I change things up?
It's a tough question. That's why I think I missed it, but oh my goodness.
Tough question. And I think, this is just this might as well be an advertisement for median league scoring. Our friends over at Sleeper, what they do is an extra matchup every single week where if you finish in the top half of scorers, you get another win. So even if you have that tough beat where, you put up 140 points and you lose to the guy that put up 142, you're still at least getting 1 win. So that's what I'd say is try to, add that into the league next year. But for this year,
might as well stay the course, because I feel like if your team is good enough, then you shouldn't change up too much, right? Because obviously your team scoring points is just you're getting unlucky with the head-to-head matchup. So I feel like if you don't necessarily need to make a dramatic change, because a dramatic change could negatively affect you, because it's not like your team is necessarily sucking. It's just you're getting unlucky. So I feel like if you're getting on this losing streak, then it's very likely as well that you could go on a winning streak because your team is so productive.
And then you've got that tiebreaker too with the points scored. So even if you end up with a losing record, if you're heading into the playoffs and you might not have a winning record, but if it comes down to the tiebreaker with you and the other teams that are sitting there, chances are you're probably going to beat them out. So yeah, I think the best bet is just stay the course and hope that the tides start, rolling in your favor.
Keep it up. Keep working the waiver wire. I know out of 14 it might be tough, but yes, keep it up.
I mean, we sit here and we analyze this game as much as we can, and we try to give ourselves every edge we can. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of luck that comes into fantasy football. And here it is, 4th in scoring and sitting at 1-6. Unfortunately, we have all had seasons like that, and we can empathize there. Next question comes from Ducky saying, should I trade Walker? I have Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs for DeAndre Hopkins. I have Williams, Metcalf, and Thomas.
Man,
took some brutal injuries to that wide receiver core. So Walker for Hopkins.
And because of his scenario, I might do it, because especially if you're contending, you need a win. You need a wide receiver, and clearly all your wide receivers are gone. So
I was gonna say he might not be able to play any. Thomas still
can't play
doing on practice today. I'm sure he'll play this week, but you absolutely have to do this now. Would you rather trade Henry in this regard?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I'd almost prefer Ken Walker. Yeah.
I'm assuming the other person might feel the same way. So maybe that's not an option.
True.
Yeah, but you might also be able to get a bigger haul for Henry. I would just, rather than taking Hopkins, I feel like you can get more than that. I feel like if you send a message out to the whole league and say, hey, Walker, Henry, and Jacobs are on the board. Whoever sends me an offer with the best wide receiver is getting one of the 3. That's kind of how you maximize the value there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm keeping Walker though, and then I'll just pick up wide receivers off. I feel like that's too much value loss. I'm sitting here talking about team needs and whatnot, but I feel like that's a little bit too much value loss giving up Walker for Hopkins. Next question here comes from Alex Puma. Would you trade a late 1st and 2nd for Amon-Ra St. Brown? It's an 8-team super flex tight end premium, and I also have every 1st and 2nd round pick in the 2023 draft.
Well, you have everyone, so you I guess you can afford to give up that. Then but it's 8-team though, so it's a late 1st and an 8-team league is not as late as obviously your standard 12
mid 1st.
Yeah, it's a mid 1st basically. So I think that's I think that's what his market is right now. Because I think the only reason it's dipped off a little bit because he's hurt. Because the beginning of the season, this was his price, right? This is what you would have to pay in order to get someone like Amon St. Brown. So I think that I would do it. Look, you have all these first and seconds. You might as well use your late first on him. So
Yeah.
I guess I would do it.
I agree. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I would too. Next question comes from Jonah saying, would you start Pittman or Deonta Foreman in the flex?
Deonta Foreman. I have no idea what St. Elger is going to look like. So,
Guys.
Foreman, they're playing Atlanta too. That's a pretty good matchup for him. I mean, yeah. The only reason if it was Matt Ryan playing, I'd go with Pittman here, but I have no idea what to expect with Ellinger.
Y'all, imagine we had this question in the beginning of the year. Like, this is fantasy. Like, you would never picture ever answering this question, and we're 8 weeks in, and what the
Here
heck?
we are. Next question comes from Mr. Green 0915. I traded Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry for Dameon Pierce and Saquon Barkley. Then I traded Pierce and Robinson for Kamara. How did I do? I have Jacobs and Walker as well. So traded Chubb and Henry for Pierce and Barkley. Traded Pierce and Robinson for Kamara. So basically traded
Is it
Chubb.
Brian Robinson? I mean, I don't know which. There's a lot of Robinsons, but
so he ended with Kamara, Jacobs, Walker, and Barkley. Are you kidding me?
So you're fine. I think that's a good trade for you. I think you still got the
Absolutely.
W.
Well done. This question from Sylvester White. Do I drop Romeo Doubs for Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Donovan Peoples-Jones been getting targets, and Romeo Doubs has been dropping all of his. So yeah.
I don't know if you heard Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, but he basically nailed Romeo Doubs' coffin closed. I mean, the Romeo Doubs show is over. All right. Next question comes from Olafub. We got another one. AJ Brown for Dalvin Cook. Wait, AJ Brown and Dalvin Cook for Ekeler. 8-team, half PPR. I have Ramondre Stevenson.
I think we got this already.
Oh, we did. Yeah. Should I start Amon-Ra St. Brown or DeAndre Hopkins? I am so torn. Amon-Ra for me.
Yeah.
Well, I think I agree. I mean, either of them are going to score a lot of fantasy points, but the Dolphins, I will say the Dolphins secondary is very banged up. Their safety, Brandon Jones, is on IR.
Right.
Xavier, and we've been playing we're very thin. So the Dolphins are very thin at corner and safety. So I think that's going to help Amon-Ra St. Brown. So that would be my deciding factor.
And the other thing I'll say about Amon-Ra St. Brown is he's not drawing man-to-man coverage and getting balls deep downfield. Yeah. I mean, these scheme-up touches for him where he's running these underneath routes and he's running crossing patterns and getting open on pick plays and creative schemes. So I think that he's going to be fine regardless of the defense. Like, they work so many balls into him. So I'm not really too concerned about it. I'd go with Amon-Ra St. Brown here. And I got a question here from Zayra saying, "Sup, fam? Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?" You guys know my answer.
Kirk.
Oh, come on. Justin Fields has been a top 12 quarterback in 3 straight weeks. Get out of here.
Kirk's been playing well. I mean,
Kirk has Justin Jefferson, but I like how Justin Fields has been playing. He has more upside. So
yeah, I mean, back-to-back games with 12+ rushes and 80+ yards. That type of floor is insane if he can maintain that. Looked it up the other day. He's on pace for almost 900 rushing yards. Like, he's on pace to have one of the best rushing seasons that any quarterback has ever had. We're finally seeing him unleashed. I promise I won't stand on my soapbox too long, but we got to talk about Justin Fields for a little bit here. I mean, the first 4 weeks of the season were terrible. They were just running this really anemic offense, and they weren't letting him do much. I mean, we saw it. He was attempting like 8 passes a game. He wasn't running at all. But something happened a few weeks ago. Over these last 3 weeks, he's been throwing 20+ passes a game. He's been running a ton. They're really starting to open the offense up a little bit. So Fields is a guy that I'm trying to go out and get wherever I can right now, just because I feel like he's got QB1 upside for the rest of the season. PJ Monroe, should I start Chris Olave or Mike Evans this week? And should I start Raheem Mostert or DeAndre Swift in my flex? So we've got Olave or Mike Evans and Raheem Mostert or DeAndre Swift.
This is a very good question. I think for the wide receiver side, it's hard to sit Mike Evans. I love Chris Olave, so I'm going Mike Evans, and I think Swift is healthy. I have to go Swift. If Swift's playing, I go Swift and Evans.
Yep. That is where I am at as well. I'm sorry, I lost
Raheem
my
is in a smash spot though, y'all.
But it's
DeAndre
Swift.
Swift.
I know.
DeAndre Swift.
I'm
yeah.
with you.
All right, next question. We got about 10 minutes left here. Full PPR, Rashad Bateman or George Pickens?
Oh, Pickens has been getting
Bateman.
targets.
And I think the
Lamar Jackson or Kenny Pickett.
Lamar Jackson has been really, really bad for the last month.
Not Kenny
but
Pickett.
he's still better than Kenny Pickett.
Not Kenny Pickett bad.
So here's the thing I'll say,
we can agree there.
Is Pickens wasn't really doing much when Mitch Trubisky was QB, but if you look at his splits
they have
with
a
Kenny
connection.
Pickett, they got something special working. I mean, Kenny Pickett just force feeds the ball to George Pickens. So I think I might go Pickens here.
Well, I mean, look, I get it, but I'm still I'm Team Bateman on this one. I think there's more upside.
I think Pickens, I mean, right now the Steelers are in shambles, but he's a guy that I'm trying to get on as many dynasty rosters as I possibly can. I mean, he passes the eye test easily. He looks amazing out there. So I think I'd go Pickens just because of the connection that him and Pickett have been displaying. Another question from Zayra. Zayra asks us if Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry are out, Chris Olave or AJ Brown. I mean, crazy that we're having this conversation, but Chris Olave has been that good. But I'm still
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. Yeah. Next question. When floundering around the cut line for playoffs, how long do you wait to trade away your depth to upgrade a starter? I'm 3-4 in a 14-team league, and 8 make the playoffs. It is way too early to throw the towel in on your season if you're 3-4.
Agree. Yeah,
you're right in the mix.
You got over a 50% chance of making it, which means that some teams with losing records are still going to get into the playoffs. Yeah, it's way too long to do that. I think right now you just stay the course. Don't make anything too drastic. Another question from Ronald. Second question: DJ Moore rest of season thoughts.
Ronald, we have talked about this man, DJ Moore, on our show for the last 3 weeks straight. It's over.
He looked good. He just
I
looked.
know.
He looked really good. But the thing is, is that going to
69 yards and a touchdown last week?
Is that going to keep happening?
He's a flex. He's a flex. He's a weekly flex, and he could get you 4. He could get you 14. That's it. It's like the poor man's Mike Williams.
There you go. And I mean, I'm not expecting PJ Walker to be leading this high flying offense, but I don't know. There could be something there.
He's startable.
Rest of the season, he's a wide receiver 3. If you got 3 or 4 better options that you can put in your lineup, go ahead. But realistically, he's a top 30 wide receiver, and you're probably starting him most weeks. Next question comes from Tim. Aaron Jones or Darrell Henderson in the flex? I'm gonna go with Darrell Henderson here. What about you guys?
Over Aaron Jones? Wow. Yeah.
You gotta watch his health. He didn't practice today.
It's standard. Aaron Jones gets so much of his points through the air. If it's just going to be a standard league, you know that Darrell Henderson's going to get fed the rock. I mean,
we'll go Henderson.
Cam Akers still isn't at practice.
But Henderson didn't practice today either, so you got to keep an eye on it. Yeah, that just came out a little bit.
And we got word that Kyron Williams might be returning soon. I mean, it's a messy backfield, but I think it's probably too early in the week to give you a sound answer on this one. But if Darrell Henderson is off the injury report, if Kyron Williams and Cam Akers are both inactive, I think Darrell Henderson's the move here. Next question comes from Connor. Trade Juju and Gabe Davis for Debo.
No, do not do that. Plus, he's got a little hamstring injury. Those linger. I wouldn't be good. That's too much.
Especially with Debo. I mean, when Debo picks up an injury, it's he's kind of got a history of those injuries lingering for a long time. And so many people talk about how the Christian McCaffrey trade was negative for Jeff Wilson Jr. And it was. I mean, Jeff Wilson Jr. didn't do much of anything last week. But I think that it's just as bad for Deebo Samuel. I mean, you could say that Christian McCaffrey is a more similar player to Deebo Samuel than he is to any of the running backs in San Francisco. So, yeah, I'm definitely concerned. I would keep Juju and Gabe Davis here. Alan Lopez Marquez asks us, I got offered T. Higgins, Jacoby Myers, and Devin Singletary for Kenneth Walker. Is that a fair trade?
Yes. Yes, do it now. Stop what you're doing and do it right now.
Take it.
Absolutely.
Next question comes in from somebody on YouTube saying, should I start St. Brown or Hopkins? We answered this
We
one
got
already.
a lot of questions, yeah.
Getting a lot of similar ones
St.
this time of
Brown's,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, now as guys are coming back from suspensions, guys are getting off the injury report and back in the lineups. There are a lot of similar questions this week, but this one, another one from Only Jock in the Village, PPR League.
I think we answered this.
We already answered this one.
Yeah.
Another question from YouTube. Should I trade Pittman for Goddard and Najee? Full PPR, 16-man, and my starting tight end is Taysom Hill, currently at 3 and 4. Thank you for all the context. That is that's how you ask a question right there. Bangwin02YT. Thank you.
I don't know if
for Goddard
I
and
would.
Najee.
I would.
I would too. I would do this trade.
I just don't think Taysom Hill is going to be able to maintain what he's been doing. You never feel comfortable starting him in your lineup, and then he scores that touchdown and you feel vindication, but do you really want to do that every single week between now and the end of the year? I think Goddard is the safer play here.
Oh, absolutely the safer play. Give it.
All right. Few minutes left here, so let's sort of keep ripping through these. Mr. Crowler XD trading away Juju, Gabe Davis, and James Conner for Dalvin Cook and Chris Olave. Is that a good trade? I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah, I don't hate that. It's pretty
Try to
even.
get out on Connor. That Arizona backfield probably going to be pretty messy going forward. And Olave is just a stud. I mean, Olave he's good. Next question comes from Mr. Scampers. What's up? Our favorite cat in the chat. Half PPR is Dalvin Cook, my RB3, and Devonta Smith, my wide receiver 2, in overpay for Cooper Kupp.
RB3.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm assuming Saquon and either Walker or Etienne or something like that.
Yeah.
I would do it.
I would do it too.
Yeah, I like
Cooper
that
Kupp
trade.
is just too amazing. I would do it.
Yeah.
All right. This one comes from Element Difference. Trade Gus Edwards, Tyler Boyd, and David Montgomery for Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Getting both of them for sure.
For sure.
Question here from Thunder Dave. Would you trade Joe Mixon and Cortland Sutton for Tony Pollard and DeAndre Hopkins?
That would actually make a sweet thing.
Downgrading at running back, upgrading at wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think I'm sticking with the Mixon and Sutton side, though.
I think I will
Yeah,
too. I think I will too.
I'm with y'all. Yeah, I'd
That's
stay
a tough
with it.
one.
This one's not a question, but we got Justin Fields is my QB1 for the rest of the season. Changed my
It's
mind.
a QB1, not mine. I know you. I know you want to make fantasy.
Next question. Got another question in here from YouTube. Sit 1. Swift, Pierce, Pollard, or Olave? Ooh, that's a brutal decision to make.
PPR, so
PPR, yeah.
You're gonna be just fine. I will say that, whichever you choose.
I'm probably sitting Pierce here, but not feeling good about it.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so because we talked about Pollard never having over 14 carries.
No, he's gonna get over 14 carries.
He will tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Or not tomorrow. Sunday. Sorry, I forget what day it is.
All right, I'm with you. I'll find Pierce. I'm close.
Pierce.
I'm close with Pollard though.
I hate this question, but yeah, Pierce.
We got a question from Mark Grefford here saying, should I trade Joe Mixon and Kyle Pitts for DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goddard? Yes.
I would do that.
Do it
yes.
now.
Swift
If it's
is better than Mixon,
redraft.
Goddard's better than Pitts. Yes, I think that this one is pretty easy for me. Well, guys, that's all we got time for today. But man, we ripped through a lot of these questions. I'm proud of us. That was a good job. Before we sign off, one more time, Troy, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can find me at T King Mode on all social media platforms. Twitter's my home base. I appreciate y'all.
And Victoria, let everyone know where they can find you.
At FFB_Victoria, Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Dave Kluge. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. Be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/footballguys. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in today. It is such a blast going through these questions, helping you out. We really hope that we were able to give you some good and sound advice. You can find us every single Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/footballguys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.